You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a stock, your heart's pounding, and you're just wondering, is now the time? Should I sell? It's got to be one of the most stressful questions in all of investing. Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating framework that says the answer isn't just in the market charts, but in the stars, and maybe more importantly, inside you. Does that feeling, that little pit in your stomach, seem familiar? That fear of selling too early and missing a huge run-up, or even worse, selling way too late and losing big. It's a problem every single investor faces. But what if there was a way to cut through all that noise and get some clarity?
So, what is this framework all about? The big idea here is that the real secret to making clear-headed selling decisions comes from self-knowledge. It's about really understanding your own unique investment style, which, according to financial astrology, is actually outlined right in your personal horoscope.
The number one principle here is simple: know thyself. A truly successful investor doesn't just try to copy what Warren Buffett or some other guru is doing. They operate from their own unique style. So our first step before we get into any rules is to figure out what your style actually is.
Okay, so this approach breaks down investing styles into these planetary archetypes. Just take a look at this list. Which one really jumps out at you? Are you an action-oriented Mars investor, always chasing after those hot stocks and buzzy startups? Or are you maybe more of a Jupiter type, laser-focused on aggressive growth? Or hey, maybe you're a cautious long-term Saturn value investor. Figuring out your dominant archetype is the key to everything else we're going to talk about.
So here's our game plan. We're going to cover 3, let's call them non-negotiable rules for when to sell a stock. And then at the end, we'll pull it all together into a practical Astro Investor's Toolkit.
All right, let's dive right into our first and maybe simplest rule. This one is a super powerful gut check that cuts right to the chase of what a stock is worth to you right now.
Rule number 1 is so simple. If you wouldn't buy a stock at today's price, why in the world are you still holding it? Think about it. By holding on, you're basically saying that everyone who is buying it right now is wrong, and only you are right. That, my friends, can be a very, very dangerous assumption to make. And this is exactly where your core style comes into play. A Jupiter-ruled growth investor, kind of like Peter Lynch, might be totally fine with a high PE ratio as long as the company's growth is off the charts. But a Saturn-ruled value investor like Warren Buffett would see that exact same PE ratio and run for the hills. So, if a stock no longer fits your core strategy, whether that's aggressive growth or deep value, Rule 1 has been triggered. And this isn't just about strategy, it's also about your inherent nature. Financial astrology connects different sun signs, your core personality, to certain industries. And Aries, for instance, often just loves the excitement of new ventures and startups. A Capricorn, on the other hand, might have a natural comfort with established, steady blue chips. When you start to feel a fundamental clash between who you are and what you own, that's a huge signal to sell. Okay, let's move on to our second rule. This one is less about the numbers on the screen and way more about your intuition. It's all about learning to listen to that powerful signal of your own personal discomfort. Just imagine you have a portfolio of 10 stocks. If one of them, just one, is constantly bothering you, keeping you up at night, that's your intuition basically screaming that something is off. Rule 2 says you don't rationalize that feeling away, you act on it. You have to treat that discomfort as a real, valid data point that's alerting you to a future problem. Of course, discomfort means totally different things to different people. A high Mars investor, who is driven by action, feels discomfort from inaction. They get antsy if they aren't in on the hot new deal. But a high Saturn investor, they're super risk-averse. Their discomfort comes from volatility. A price swing that totally excites the Mars type might just give the Saturn type an ulcer. Knowing which one you are is absolutely key to applying Rule 2 properly. And, it's not just about risk either. In astrology, the planet Venus represents comfort and what we genuinely like. Sometimes a stock might be doing great, the numbers look good, but you don't like the company, or its mission, or its products. That feeling of dislike is a totally valid trigger for Rule 2. You really should feel good about what you own.
Your professional life, your reality, also shapes your comfort level in a huge way. I mean, to a day trader, long-term means holding a position overnight. Their discomfort gets triggered by missing a quick pop. But for an investment banker with a multi-year horizon, a 50-point dip is just noise, it's nothing. Your personal time horizon really sets the bar for Rule 2.
But what if that discomfort just feels irrational? Well, that's where a cool concept called synastry, or relationship astrology, can come in handy. Basically, it means talking to a trusted partner or advisor and comparing your astrological charts to see how you interact. Their perspective can give you some much-needed balance. So for instance, if your cautious Saturn nature is totally panicking, your partner's risk-taking Mars perspective could be the reality check you need to either confirm your fears or decide to override them.
Okay, on to our third and final rule, and this one is probably the most uniquely astrological of the bunch. This is about looking beyond your own chart and actually analyzing the horoscope of the stock or the trade itself.
So here's the big idea. Every single trade has a birth, the exact moment it was placed, and you can cast a horoscope for that moment. And that chart can reveal its potential strengths and weaknesses. So if that chart is showing some serious trouble on the horizon, well, that's a pretty clear signal to get out. And this quote from Mary Vorzek highlights a really specific example. The Mars/Neptune midpoint, that's a sensitive point in a chart where the energies of action, Mars, and illusion, Neptune, meet, is often a major red flag. It can point to a super high potential for disappointment, for miscalculation, or for things just not being what they seem. If this gets activated in a stocks chart, Rule 3 says you need to be extremely cautious.
Now, to validate these kinds of signals, astrologers use a really neat technique called horary astrology. What it involves is casting a chart for the exact moment you ask a sincere, significant question, like, should I sell this stock right now? The chart that's created is then interpreted to find the answer. It's a way to get some extra confirmation before you act on a warning from Rule 3.
Okay, so we have covered the 3 core rules. Now, let's pull them all together and synthesize them into a practical toolkit that you can actually use to bring some real discipline to your selling decisions. So here they are, all together: the value question, the comfort signal, and the celestial warning. The important thing to remember is that any one of these is a good enough reason to sell immediately. Together, they form a really powerful system to protect both your money and, honestly, your peace of mind. And this really brings us to the deeper framework behind it all. Rule 1 is fundamentally about style, making sure your investments are aligned with your core nature. Rule 2 is all about timing caution, listening to your personal cycles of comfort and risk. And Rule 3 uses synastry checks, not just with people, but with the stock's own chart for external confirmation. Style, timing caution, and synastry checks. Those are the pillars of the toolkit. You see, mastering these 3 rules helps you build that foundational pillar of astro investing, which is style. It's all about making sure your actions line up with your true nature. Once you have this foundation of self-knowledge and discipline really locked in, then you can start to explore that second major pillar, market timing.
By really internalizing these 3 rules, you're not just learning when to sell, you're mastering the art of investing in a way that is true to yourself. So the real question is, now that you have the foundation of style down, are you ready to take it to the next level? Are you ready to master timing?